Hi everyone, your homework tonight is Tables Mix 3. We can work on it together so you can have some help if you need it. So with these types of problems, we always start with our think aloud to get our brains ready to tackle the input-output table. So number 1, from input to output, do the numbers go up or down? If the numbers go up, the operation could be addition or multiplication. If the numbers go down, the operation could be subtraction or division. How do I figure out the rule? Look at our examples below. So at number 1, I'm looking from input to output, and I ask myself, do the numbers go up or down? 3 to 27, up. 8 to 72, up. 6 to 54, up. So I'm going to draw my arrow on the side here going up. I know if the numbers go up, my operations could be addition or multiplication. So I'm going to draw that next to my arrows here. Okay, so now I need to find a pattern. To find a pattern, I can either check with subtraction or I can check with division. So I'm looking at my numbers from input to output here. 3 to 27, 8 to 72, it seems like I might have a multiplication fact to help me remember these. I know 3 times 9 equals 27. So I'm going to try to check with division first and see if that works. So when I check with division, I take my bigger number, which is in the output this time, 27, divide it by my smaller number, 3, and I get 9. Since I did division to get that, I'm going to put my 9 with my multiplication sign because that's the inverse operation. Now I'm going to check the rest with division, and if I get 9 every time, I know I have a pattern. So 8 to 72, bigger number 72, divided by 8. Ooh, I get 9 again. And then 6 and 54, bigger number 54, divided by 6. Once again, I get 9. So I know I have a pattern. So I'm going to circle my times 9 here, because that's my pattern. That doesn't mean it's my rule yet. I have to show my work to prove that times 9 is my rule. So to do that, I am going to do 3, that's my input, times 9, my rule, equals, and I know 3 times 9, 1 less, 27, check, because it matches my output. Then I try 8 times 9, 1 less, 72, check my output, once again it matches, check. Then finally 6 times 9, equals 1 less, 54, check my output, it matches again. So I circle my rule, I did times 9 3 times, and I got 3 check marks, which means it works every single time. So I'm gonna write my rule in my rule box, but ooh, I'm noticing that there's no rule box on this page. But that's okay, I can just draw one. There's my rule box. I'm going to put times 9, and I still have this blank here that I need to solve for. So on my input side, I have 18 times 9 is going to get me something for my output. Now I can plug that into my calculator. 18 times 9, that equals 162. Put it in my output and check. Number 2, first question I ask is, from input to output, do the numbers go up or down? 14 to 78 up, 23 to 87 up, 8 to 72 up. Draw my up arrow, that means addition or multiplication. I can check for a pattern with subtraction or division. 14 to 78, can't think of any multiplication facts. Same with 23 to 87. 8 to 72 looks sort of familiar, but not the other two. So I'm going to try checking with subtraction first. So to check with subtraction, I take the bigger number, which is 78, minus the smaller number, which is 14, to get 64. And I'm going to write that by my plus sign because I checked with subtraction, and addition is the inverse of subtraction. Now I'm going to keep checking. Let's see, 87, bigger number, minus 23, smaller number. That gets me 64 again, so I'm starting to see a pattern. And then I have 8 and 72. My bigger number is 72. Minus 8, I get 64. So I officially have a pattern, but that doesn't mean I have a rule yet. I have to show my work to prove it. So I'm going to take my first input, 14, and my rule, plus 64, equals 14 plus 64, 78. Check my output, it matches, give myself a check mark. Then I check 23 plus 64 equals in the calculator, 87. And that matches my output, check. Now I need to check 8 plus 64 equals 72. And check. I circle my rule. I did plus 64 every single time. It worked every single time. So I know my official rule is plus 64. I don't have a rule box here, so I'm going to draw one myself and write plus 64. Bring down my input is 18 plus 64 equals something. I can easily plug that into my calculator to figure out. So 18 plus 64, I get 82. Put 82 in my output and check. Number 3, input-output table. So I need to ask myself, from input to output, do the numbers go up or down? 28 to 4, down. 39 to 15, down. 87 to 63, going down. So I draw my arrow down. Down means I'm either subtracting or dividing. So now I need to check for a pattern using either subtraction or using division. So I'm going to see denty plate and door. That sounds like a story word fact. Oh, but 39 and 15 doesn't. And 87 and 63, that doesn't. So I'm guessing that this is probably going to be subtraction. So I'm going to check the difference on my calculator. So 28 and 4, my bigger number is 28 minus my smaller number 4. I get 24. I put that by my subtraction sign because I just subtracted to find the difference. Now I check 39 and 15, bigger number 39 minus smaller number 15 to get 24 again. So I'm seeing a pattern, but I have to check my last one. My bigger number is 87 minus my smaller number is 63, and I get 24. So okay, I have a pattern, but it's not my rule yet. I have to show my work to prove that minus 24 is my rule. So I take my first input, 28, subtract 24, and I can just do that in my head. I know that the answer to that is 4, which matches my output, so check. Now I take my input, 39, put in my rule, minus 24, equals 39 minus 24. I get 15. Again, that matches my output, check. Then finally, 87 minus 24 equals 63. Check my output. I've got a match, so check. I circle my rule. I subtracted 24 every single time, and every single time I got a check mark because I got my output. So I know my official rule is minus 24. So I draw in my rule box, and I have minus 24. This time my blank is on my input side. So I have something, minus 24 equals 19. I can't plug this into my calculator. I can't put question mark minus 24. So I need to do the inverse operation to solve this. The inverse operation of subtraction is addition. So my equation is going to look like this. 19 plus 24 equals, and then I can plug it in. I get 43. And I put my 43 here in my input, but my 43 is really sad and lonely because we didn't check him. We have check marks everywhere else, but we didn't check to make sure the work worked for 43. So I'm going to take 43. I'm going to take my rule, minus 24. I'm going to see what I get. I get 19. That matches my output, so I know I didn't make any mistakes, and I can check it off. Number 4, from input to output, are my numbers going up or down? 32 to 4, down. 64 to 8, down. 24 to 3, down. Draw my arrow going down. I know that means subtraction or division. Okay, my bigger number here is 32 and 4. I'm looking for a pattern. I know I can either subtract or divide to find a pattern. And I'm thinking dirty U 32 and door 4, that's a story word. 64 and 8, I know sticky floor 64. I know denty floor 24 and tree. So, ooh, I'm thinking that multiplication facts would work here, so I'm going to check with division. So I take my bigger number, 32, divide it by my smaller number, 4. I get 8. So I'm going to put my 8 with my division sign because I divided a check. Now I check bigger number 64 divided by smaller number 8. I get 8 again, good sign. And then finally 24 divided by 3, and I get 8 for the third time. So I've got a pattern here, but I need to prove that it's my rule by showing my work. So my input, 32 divided by 8. I know skate times door equals dirty U, 32, so I can put a 4 here, and that matches my output. Check. 64 divided by 8 equals, I know skate times skate equals sticky floor, 64, so I'm going to put an 8 here, which matches my output, and check. And finally, 24 divided by 3. I know divided by 8, because that's my rule, divide by 8. So 24 divided by 8, I know skate times tree equals denty floor, 24. So I can put a 3 here, which matches my output, and check. Then I circle my rule, which is divide by 8. I see that I have check marks every time, so I know divided by 8 is my rule. So I'm going to put it in my rule box, divide by 8. And I have something divided by 8 equals 7. I can't plug this into my calculator, so I need to do the inverse operation to solve. 7 times 8, and I know surfing times skate equals fishy sticks, 56. I can go ahead and put 56 in my input, but it's lonely because I didn't check to make sure it worked. So I'm going to double check my work. 56 divided by 8 equals 7. Matches my output. Check. Okay, for number 5, our function table is looking a little bit different, but we still solve it exactly the same way. And the first question we ask ourselves is, from input to output, are the numbers going up or down? So 2 to 14, up. 8 to 56, up. 4 to 28, up. Draw your arrow going up. I know that means addition or multiplication. Now I need to check for a pattern with either subtraction or division. So I'm going to see which one would be the smart choice. So 2 and 14, I think I know a multiplication for that. Skate and fishy sticks, I know some multiplication there. Door and denty plate, 28. Ooh, I'm thinking that division is going to be the way to go to check here. So I grab my calculator and I start dividing the bigger number, 14, divided by the smaller number, 2, and I get 7. I'm going to put that 7 by my multiplication sign because multiplication is the inverse of addition. Now I'm going to keep checking. 56 divided by 8, 7 again. 28 divided by 4, and I get 7 again. So I definitely have a pattern here. I'm going to see if I can prove that that pattern is my rule. So I take my input, 2, and my rule times 7. I know that equals 14. Check the output. I've got a match. Then I try my next input, 8 times 7. I know skate times surfing equals fishy sticks, 56. Put a 56 there. It matches my output. Check. Then I do 4 times 7. I know door times surfing equals denty plate, 28. 28 here. And that matches my output. So I circle my rule. I did 10 times 7 3 times. I got 3 check marks, so I know I have a rule. I don't have a rule box once again, so I'm going to have to draw my own. Put it right here. Times 7. Now I need to check my input is times 7. My output is question mark. So 7 times 7 equals something. Well, I know that surfing times surfing equals 4 twine, 49. Put a 49 there and check it off. I'm good to go. Number 6, from input to output, do the numbers go up or down? 32 to 8, down. 12 to 3, down. 8 to 2, down. Draw my arrow going down. That means either subtraction or division. Now I need to look for a pattern, either using subtraction or division. So let's see, I see 32 and 8. I know dirty U, 32, and skate go together in multiplication. 12 and 3 seems like it could be a multiplication fact. Same with 8 and 2. So I'm going to test using division first. So let's see how that goes. Take my bigger number and my input, 32, divided by my smaller number, 8, and I get 4. I'm going to put that with division because that's what I use to check. Now I try again, bigger number 12 divided by smaller number 3, 4 again. And finally, bigger number 8 divided by smaller number 2, 4 again. So I've got a pattern. Now I need to check and see if that pattern's my rule. I take my first input, 32, divided by 4, which is my rule. And I know that equals 8 because door times skate equals dirty U, 32. That matches my output, check. Then I check my next input, 12, and my rule divided by 4. I know in my head that 4 times 3, or door times tree, equals elf 12, and that matches my output, so check. Then I'm going to move on to 8 divided by 4, and I know that equals 2. That matches my output, check. Circle my rule. I did divide by 4 3 times. I have 3 check marks, so I know it works every time. So I have an official rule for my rule box. I'm going to draw in my rule box here. Divide by 4. This time my missing piece is on the top on my input. So something divided by 4 is going to get me 7. I can't plug in question mark divided by 4 into my calculator, so I need to do the inverse operation. So 7 times 4, or surfing times plate, surfing times door equals denty plate, 28. I can go ahead and put in my 28 there. It doesn't have a check mark, so I want to make sure I'm right. 28 divided by 4. I know 4 times surfing equals denty plate, 28. So I can give it a check mark and I'm good to go. Number 7, last one. I ask myself from input to output, are the numbers going up or down? 13 to 42, up. 24 to 53, up. 37 to 66, up. I draw my up arrow. That means addition or multiplication. I need to check for a pattern with subtraction or division. So I'm looking to see if I recognize any multiplication facts. 13 and 42, no. Denty floor 24, I know, but nothing for 53. And 37 and 66, I don't. So I'm thinking that I'm going to use subtraction to check. So I need to find the difference. The bigger number, 42, minus the smaller number, 13, is 29. I'm going to put that with my addition because subtraction is the inverse operation of addition. Now I'm going to keep checking. 53, bigger number, minus 24, smaller number. I get 29 again, so I'm seeing a pattern. But just to double check, bigger number, 66, minus smaller number, 37. And I get 29. So I have a pattern. Now I can see if that pattern works for my rule. I take my first input, 13 plus 29 equals 42. Matches my output, check. Now I try 24 plus 29 equals 53. Matches my output, check. And finally, 37 plus 29 equals 66. Matches my output, check. I circle my rule, plus 29 worked every single time because I have 3 check marks. So I can go ahead and draw in my rule box. My rule is plus 29. On my input side at the top, I have 18 plus 29 equals something. Well, I can use my calculator to solve that. 18 plus 29 equals 47. Put a 47 here and check it off. You are done. Nice work, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.